The Underground Railroad was a channel of different routes that helped slaves escape out of the United States of America. A large majority of those slaves were from an African descent. Many of the different routes led into Canada, but there were some routes that led overseas and into Mexico. Before the American Civil War in 1861, between 1840 and 1860, Africans used the Underground Railroad to escape slavery. The Underground Railroad was not really a railroad. The organization used the railroad as code. The people that helped the enslaved Africans escape were known as conductors. Not that kind of conductor. The slaves themselves were known as passengers or cargo. The organization made different code names for different places. The word midnight was code for the city Detroit, from which most slaves left the United States. The Detroit River was called Jordan. That was a Bible reference because the Jordan River led the Israelites to the Promised Land, as did the Detroit River for the African slaves. The destination they were trying to reach was called Dawn. People could communicate with each other without getting caught. For example, someone could say, "Leave from midnight and cross the Jordan to get to dawn," which really meant, "Leave from Detroit and cross the Detroit River to get to your final destination," which was usually in Canada. This lady is named Harriet Tubman. She became very famous in the Underground Railroad as a conductor. She had a very big influence on the Underground Railroad. She was born into slavery on Maryland's eastern shore. In 1849, she escaped, leaving her husband and all of her family behind. She soon returned and grew a very large bounty. This was because she saved hundreds of African slaves in about 19 different trips across the border and back. What was so special about her was that she didn't have a good education or a physical advantage over others, but she had such a strong determination to free those African slaves from slavery. Two things kept her safe: her faith in God and her pistol by her side. She never hesitated to use the pistol. She held some slaves at gunpoint because she knew they would hustle up. The slaves seemed to gain courage while being with her. They never let her down, and she never left anyone behind. Fun fact, Harriet Tubman served as a spy, a scout, and a nurse during the American Civil War.